So I took the 45-minute and the 60-minute data point while I was off camera and charging it in my office. So I got about 4 more minutes now before we take our 75-minute data point, and that'll give us 6 tubes that we can centrifuge again and dilute with dichloromethane. I was able to finally get this to stabilize at almost exactly 150. And you can see it's quite dark. It's still red. I mean, if you look at the edges, but dark red. And you can see if we look at these vials that there is a little bit of solid collecting on the bottom, but the solution above is clear. So if we take the syringe needle not all the way to the bottom, we'll be safe, as long as we're careful to not disturb that, shake that up too much as we put them into the mass spec. So I'm going to take the 75-minute data point, we'll centrifuge those down and get those diluted up, and then we'll go over and set up a batch file for our mass spec result. So we'll be able to run that overnight, collect the data. You'll notice it rolled over. 60 minutes is the limit on this thing, so it reset at 0 after 60 minutes, so 75 will be 15. A little bit of solid seems to be staying there, but it's not dissolving or going anywhere, so it shouldn't affect our result. A little bit of solid in the toluene waste as well. And probably a little bit of solid in our transfer pipette that we're using to collect the supernatant. What we're hoping for is that the percentage of the products hits a stable, constant percentage sometime along and then doesn't change further, which will be our indication that we've reached equilibrium. And hopefully that temperature will stay stable at almost exactly 150 from now until the rest of the run. So for the last hour of the reaction, we will have had the 150 degrees. Of course, that 150 is where the bulb of the thermometer is, not necessarily where the flask is, but it's going to be a close enough estimate. About 10 more seconds. So now we can stick these in the centrifuge. and we'll just do them in order. Keep track of which one's which. Set that for about 5 minutes or so. Let that run. And then we'll have our 90, 105, and 120 minute data point. Let that go for the full 2 hours. So while that's stirring, I'm going to go make sure the GC mass spec is set. Area 1 ready. I'll probably need to refill the dichloromethane wash. It's been a while since this has been used. We're going to rinse the GC mass spec syringe with dichloromethane both before and after each sample. Fill that up. That's solvent B. If you're looking here, we've got 3 different solvents. We've got an acetonitrile wash, we've got the dichloromethane wash, and then we've also got a methanol wash. That one's empty. But we're not going to be using those 2. We're just going to be using B. So the only one I need to fill, just hit reset button on that. The only one I needed to fill was the dichloromethane. And I'm going to go to the select project folder here and point it at my own folder. I've got a folder called Dehydration 2021, and that's where we're going to be looking. I've got the method. The method is Dehydration 2020. That shouldn't have changed, and there's a report form in there so far. But I'm going to be setting up a batch file. Right now there's no batch file. Well, actually, I guess right now there is a batch file in there. There's DCL 10 40 to 41. I thought I deleted that. I'm not sure that's actually there. Let's go see what's actually in that folder. Yeah, that fold's not there. It was there. This is the one I ran last year. But it's not in that Dehydration 2021 folder, which is good. It thinks it's there, but I bet if I tried to open it, it would say no. So we're going to go to batch processing, and we're going to start with a new batch file. So we're going to go to File, New Batch File, and that's going to open up a template which is set for this dehydration reaction. I'm going to now save that, into my Dehydration 2021 folder as Dehydration batch file. And this is DCL 54, right? DCL 10, 54, A through whatever. So now that batch file is there. So let's go see if the centrifuge is done. Yeah, it's close enough. Let's turn that off and let that go. And we've got about 9 minutes before our next data point. And unfortunately that temperature has dropped. Doesn't seem to want to be stable. So I'll tweak that up a little bit. Try to get it back up to 150. Move my toluene washes over here now. That's my toluene pipette. Dry now, haven't used it in a while. So I'll just transfer these tubes back where they came from. Should be nicely settled. I guess I'm not going to put them back where they came from. I'm actually going to put them next to the vial they're going into. Number 1, that's 54G. Number 2 is 54H. 54I, 54J, 54K, and 54L. And then we'll take each of those vials and we'll dilute that with dichloromethane after doing the transfer. There's G. I'll avoid that solid. Move that up to that top line. We got H. And 54I. For some reason 54I is less dark. Must have gotten less liquid out than the half milliliter. Check that in a second here. Yeah, it looks like it's a little less liquid. It causes it to be less dark. We'll see if that affects the GC mass spec data. We're looking at 54J here. one just a touch cloudy. Still, even after the centrifuge. $4K. And 54L. So that was my 75-minute data point at 54L. We got about 2.5 minutes before the 90-minute data point, so I'll be able to take that one, and then we'll go over and build the batch file. And these test tubes can go in the glass waste. My transfer tube, my dichloromethane tube. About 2 minutes to go. We can look at our samples here and we can see that we've got a gradually